All right, welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into a pretty fascinating modern corporate fable. It's a story that kind of sounds like a mystery at first, but it actually holds a really profound masterclass in business strategy and, well, human empathy. Just imagine walking into the headquarters of a booming, highly successful tech company. Everything is completely polished, operations are running flawlessly. But there is this strange anomaly sitting right in the middle of their most important room. So every Monday morning, the department heads at this company gather in their grand conference room. But there's a catch. At the very end of this massive table, there's a large chair that is always left completely empty. Nobody ever sits there. Naturally, new employees are constantly whispering among themselves whenever they walk by. They're always asking things like, wait, is someone important coming? Is that seat reserved for the CEO? The company we're talking about is Brightwave Electronics. They're one of the fastest growing tech firms out there. They've got these perfect Monday meetings, super slick operations, but that one empty chair remains week after week. And whenever those curious new hires ask about it, the senior managers just give this knowing smile and say, "Don't worry, you'll understand someday." It's an incredibly intriguing setup, right? Enter our protagonist, or well, maybe our initial antagonist, a newly hired manager named Rahul. Now, Rahul is undeniably brilliant. He's got the fancy MBA from a prestigious university, his financial reports are flawlessly formatted, and his presentations absolutely dazzle the executives. You totally know the type. Hyper-corporate, completely spreadsheet-obsessed, and literally convinced the entire world runs on pivot tables. Rahul operates on a very specific, ruthless philosophy. Profits above absolutely everything else. This mindset becomes crystal clear in his very first major meeting, where he pitches this super aggressive cost-cutting plan. He argues that if they drastically reduce customer support, they are going to save millions in overhead. If they switch to cheaper manufacturing materials, hey, no one's even going to notice the difference. And if they shorten the warranty period on their appliances, they'll instantly bump up their replacement revenue. And looking around the room, a lot of the managers are actually nodding along. Because on paper, these numbers look incredibly impressive. But then, the whole atmosphere in the room just completely shifts. The CEO quietly holds up a hand and stops the presentation dead in its tracks. He looks slowly over at that mysterious empty chair at the end of the table. Then he turns to Rahul and asks a incredibly simple question. What does the person sitting there think? Rahul is utterly confused. He stammers out, but no one is sitting there. The CEO just smiles and replies, exactly. A heavy silence fills the room as the CEO's philosophy really starts to sink in for Rahul. You see, that empty chair, it belongs to the customer. At Brightwave Electronics, the empty chair is the perpetual seat of the ultimate decision maker. Every single important decision made at this company is done as if the customer is sitting right there in the room, listening to every single word and judging the outcome. And this philosophy, it isn't just some nice symbolic gesture. It's a strict operational framework. Whenever someone proposes a new idea at Brightwave, it has to pass 3 non-negotiable questions. Number 1, would you buy this yourself? Number 2, would you recommend it to your parents? And number 3, which is definitely the hardest one, would you still choose it if you knew every hidden detail about how it was made? Suddenly, viewed through this intensely transparent lens, Rahul's aggressive cost-cutting proposal didn't look quite so brilliant anymore. But Rahul is stubborn, okay? He's really not convinced. He's thinking, this is way too emotional. Business is about hard numbers, not feelings. Recognizing this pushback, the leadership decides to send Rahul into what we're going to call the crucible. A few weeks later, Rahul is ordered to spend 1 full day working directly at the company's customer support center. And he absolutely hates the idea. He fully believes it is a complete waste of his valuable executive time. But then the phones start ringing. His very first call is from an elderly school teacher with a just heartbreaking situation. She had carefully saved her money for 2 entire years just to buy a Brightwave washing machine. But after only 3 weeks of use, it completely broke down. And to make matters worse, the Brightwave service center had delayed her repairs for over a month. Now, she didn't yell at Rahul, she didn't scream or demand to speak to a manager. She just softly said, "I live alone. I cannot carry heavy clothes to the laundromat. I trusted your company." I want you to think about the immense emotional weight of that statement, the profound isolation, the broken trust. Rahul, with all his pristine spreadsheets and fancy degrees, had absolutely no answer for her. And the day doesn't get any easier from there. The second call comes from a young father. His Brightwave refrigerator had suddenly stopped working in the middle of the night. And because of this, all the expensive, temperature-sensitive medicine for his diabetic daughter had spoiled. He wasn't even angry on the phone. He just sounded completely, utterly exhausted. His child's health was directly compromised by a faulty product. And here is exactly what he told Rahul. I don't need an apology. I just need help. Customers in these moments aren't looking for corporate PR spin or some refund policy hidden deep in the terms and conditions. They are quite literally depending on the company to live their lives safely. By the time Rahul finally unplugs his headset at the end of his shift, he has spoken to over 50 customers. 50 individuals, 50 real lives. It wasn't just a few isolated incidents or a standard margin of error on a spreadsheet anymore. It was this massive scale of realization hitting him all at once. This brings us to his awakening. Rahul experienced a fundamental paradigm shift. He finally realized that each purchase actually meant something significant to the buyer. These people saved for months for these appliances. Their daily routines depended entirely on these products functioning perfectly. Brightwave wasn't just moving metal and plastic inventory off a warehouse shelf. They were becoming a critical, intimate part of people's lives. So, the following Monday, Rahul walks back into that grand conference room. But this time, when he looks at the empty chair at the end of the table, he doesn't just see a quirky piece of corporate culture. He vividly imagines the elderly teacher sitting there. Beside her, he sees the exhausted young father, a struggling college student, a retired couple. The chair is no longer empty. It is absolutely crowded with humanity. When it's his turn to present, everyone in the room braces for another ruthless cost-cutting strategy. Instead, Rahul delivers a complete reversal. Rather than reducing support, his new proposal demands faster, better-funded customer support. Instead of cheaper materials, he wants to drastically increase quality checks on the manufacturing line. And instead of shortening the warranty, he proposes extending it. He completely flipped the script. The other managers are shocked. They immediately push back, warning him, Rahul, that is absolutely going to reduce our profits. But Rahul just smiles, and he delivers this really powerful rebuttal. For this quarter, maybe. But trust lasts longer than quarterly profits. And that philosophy, that was the real game changer. It shaped Brightwave's entire legacy. As the years passed, Brightwave became one of the most trusted brands in the entire country. And here's the fascinating twist. It wasn't because they were the cheapest option on the market. It wasn't because they had the biggest, flashiest advertising budget. It was simply because every single decision began with asking what the person in that empty chair would feel. Even long after the original CEO retired, that chair remained right there in the boardroom. No one ever sat in it because everyone knew its place was already taken. This modern fable leaves us with such a profound moral, beautifully captured right here. The best decisions are made when we remember the people who will live with their consequences. It really challenges everything we think we know about cold, hard business metrics. So, as we wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with a question to apply to your own life, your own work, and your own daily decisions. Whether you are building a product, managing a team, or just interacting with your community, who is sitting in your empty chair? Keep them in mind. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next explainer.